Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Monday session of Let's Meditate. My name is Sriram. Happy to host this session for you. Over the weekend, I was thinking about uh, the idea of creativity, the idea of innovation. Right? So much of technology is happening in today's world. Okay, I'm part of IT. I'm part of the digital wave, and the more and more I understand the strength of digital. Right? The possibility with digital, be it automation, be it in terms of bringing completely new processes together, which was unimaginable earlier, right? It's kind of a breakthrough from the past to the future. And that's really what innovation is, right? Very closed forms or approaches to thinking, we break free from that and bring forth new ideas, new innovations, creativity, and so on. Right? Now, what is the state of mind? This is what you call positive disruption, right? When innovation happens, okay, and you can think of the big ones, right? It could be the wheel, okay, it could be electricity, it could be electronics, it could be computers, it could be the mobile phone, it could be the internet. These are all like breakthrough technologies which completely change the kind of world that we live in, right? Now, what kind of mind is ready to create or facilitate these new ideas and innovation? What makes one creative? What makes one innovative? Okay. Now, if you pause to consider, our mind typically goes on what you call predefined routes. There is this analogy which I'm able to recollect that if you go to the village side where the roads are not black tar, okay, where the roads are not laid, but these are mud roads, right? And formed by usage. And typically, okay, on the village side, when the bullock cart runs on the road, it kind of forms grooves along the mud road, right? And sometimes these grooves are deep, and so much so that the wheels of the bullock cart can only go within those grooves, okay, and it doesn't have the ability to move away or get away from those grooves, right? So these are what you call, like, your past conditioning your future. And creativity has a barrier of us being conditioned by our past, right? How to break free from the past, how to think in new directions which nobody has thought before, right? So let's pause to consider, okay, a couple of examples, right? One example that comes to mind is Madame Curie, okay, with radioactivity. She was a scientist, okay, par excellence, okay, one of the best. And yet, it seems as if, like, what triggered this process of creativity or innovation is chance, is an accident, right? She just happened to leave a rock and some photographic plates, and she found that the next day the photographic plates had been exposed. And instead of thinking it or dismissing it as an accident, she kind of looked at the data that's available with her, though she did not understand that rocks with radioactive material can expose photographic plates, right? And that was the birth of um, radioactivity, right? Newton, okay, in his garden sitting under an apple tree, right? I'm sure apples have been falling for ages. But here was a man, like, when this apple supposedly fell on his head, it made him think and create this concept or idea of gravity, right? And it really kind of made science take a leap forward. Or Archimedes, okay, in his bathtub, he had been given a problem by the king, and he was told that he would be put to death if he did not find the solution to the problem as to whether the crown that was forged by the goldsmith contained anything other than gold, okay, or was it adulterated, right? And here he was in his bathtub, perhaps in a state of deep relaxation, not connected with the world, not intensely or actively working on a problem. If you look at it, all the people, right, in their breakthrough moments, okay, whether it be Newton or whether it be Madame Curie, right? It wasn't as if that breakthrough happens in the intensity of work or thought, but it happens right when there is some level of underlying data, there is a new trigger, and the mind is really expansive, the mind is really free. Association is free, right? The way the thoughts get associated is free, and something connects with something, and voila, there's a new idea, right? And the person needs to have a lot of courage to pursue that line of thought and actually go ahead and publish, right? Because many times these new disruptions, okay, these new innovations, right, they're frowned upon by society, even scientists, right, who frown upon things which really break away from what they call the scientific norm, right? So, really speaking, right, I mean, it's my thought process, right, reflecting on these things, that what results in creativity, what results in innovation is this ability to break free from the past. And it is done by two things. One is the external environment creating an accident, or is there is a data point in the environment which is noticed. First of all, if they're completely preoccupied, like watching TV or on the phone, I mean, there is going to be no time or attention to even stop and notice. Oh, what's happening here? Why is this apple falling on my head? Why doesn't the apple fall up? Right? To even ask that question, right? I mean, you need attention first. The trigger is from the external world, but it's the attention. But much more important is the state of mind, the state of mind which is open, which is expansive, which is able to associate, which is able to inquire, which is able to ask questions and follow through with discipline, right? Now, how do you create that state of mind, right? And one thing I found, right, is that this doesn't happen when there's a lot of pressure on the mind. It doesn't happen. It is really in your, take the other example of Kekule, okay, and the benzene ring. It was in a state of half sleep, right, where he was dreaming, where a snake is eating its own tail, that he thought, C6 head 6, right, that this is the format in which, that the valency, okay, in organic chemistry of a benzene ring is validated, right? That it's a circular, okay, molecule. It's not a linear association or compound, right? So all of this, right, half state, half asleep, there is thought, but there is no intensity, right? But you're unfocused, and yet something comes, and you're able to follow through, right? How do you develop that state of mind, right? And I hazard a guess here, right, that the mind needs to be sharp, the mind needs to be diligent, but not under pressure. It needs to be still, it needs to be calm, right? It's like a lake in which there is still water, right? And let us say, there's a kingfisher which is perched on a tree, right? And it finds the smallest of ripples, and it knows there's a fish there. Pook, it's able to plunge into it and, pick the fish and have its lunch or dinner or whatever it is, right? So in a still mind, when ideas come in, these external triggers, I think it creates internal ripples. And when there is a tension, we're able to follow through. And there's a possibility of creativity, there's a possibility of innovation. It's also the ability to observe and question and go deeper. Clarity of thought, right? Now, what we do in heartfulness is really to work with our mind, bring it to a state of stillness, bring it to a state of calmness, right? I mean, develop our ability to observe, develop sensitivity. And it's these kind of aspects, right? I mean, which really, when we work with our mind, it is really these kind of qualities of the mind, which I believe can also contribute to. I'm not saying that heartfulness is the only way to creativity and innovation, not at all. But in some sense, right, what I'm saying is creativity and innovation are the products of a particular state of mind. And it's that state of mind, which, as we train our mind through meditation, okay, that we are able to, in some sense, promote and develop, and that can result in creativity and innovation, right? And this is my experience, and I wanted to share this with you. So with that, as always, let's get into the practice, which is of the two. If you got to listen to theories and talks and so on, but if you've also got to look at the practice is much more important, right? Because it is what helps us bring about transformation. The theory or the talk is just for us to associate and connect the dots, between the relevance of something like meditation and what we practice in meditation and how does it benefit our daily life. That is all that the talk is limited to. So let's get on with the practice and see even if we can move ourselves a millimeter or a centimeter or an inch. I think it's well worth the time and the journey. So please sit comfortably, close your eyes softly and gently. Take a moment to observe how you feel at this time in your body and mind. Make a suggestion that your entire body and mind is deeply relaxed. Gently bring your attention to your heart and make a soft suggestion that there is a divine light in your heart. Let the light and love in your heart attract your attention, helping you turn your attention within. All that you need to do is to retain your attention in your heart with the suggestion that you're meditating on the source of divine light in your heart. Just continue to observe and feel what is happening in your heart space over the next several minutes. If you find that your mind is getting distracted with other thoughts, gently try to ignore those distracting thoughts and try and feel what's happening in your heart. Continue to meditate on the idea that there is divine light in your heart and ignore any distracting thoughts that might arise. Continue to meditate on the source of divine light in your heart, ignoring any distracting thoughts. Continue to center yourself in your heart space. Try and feel what's happening there and ignore any distracting thoughts that might arise. Gently take a moment to observe how you feel at this time. You may slowly and gently open your eyes when you're ready. Thank you for joining today's session of Let's Meditate. We'll see you on this platform tomorrow at 4